It is better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven, says John Milton. Viewers, today we will discuss the life and works of John Milton. John Milton, who is one of the greatest writers in English literature. So in this video, we will be discussing about his life, that how his life started and how it went towards his end. Then we will be discussing the works, the contribution in the field of poetry and prose. So let's get started, viewers. Viewers, if we discuss the life of John Milton, he was born in London on 9th December 1608. His father was a strongly Puritan, but he was lover of literature and art. He was a noted musician also. John Milton was educated at St. Paul's School and Christ's College, Cambridge. Viewers, being of a rebellious temper, he was in trouble with the authorities over the curriculum. He was rusticated for a time being. He, however, took his BA in 1629 and MA in 1632. Milton was also called Lady of Christ because of his personal beauty, flowing hair, and aloofness from riotous life of undergraduates. So he was titled the Lady of Christ. Viewers, when he completed his study in Cambridge, he was offered some job, but Milton had refused to become a minister of Church of England, as that meant for him mental slavery and restraints upon liberty of conscience. In 1632, he went to Horton. After completion of his study, he further decided that he will read further to become a great scholar. So in 1632, he went to Horton, where his father had bought a property. Here he settled down to a life of hard study in order to prepare himself for writing a great poem. Viewers, he spent around 6 years there. In 1638, Milton decided to complete his studies by travel. Therefore, he left London and went by the way of Paris to Italy. However, he received the news of critical state of things at home and decided to return back. Viewers, at that time the conditions in England were not favorable, so he decided to return back. And we know his famous line when he says that it is best of trying to travel abroad for my amusement while my fellow citizens are fighting for liberty at home. Viewers, Milton returned to London in August 1639, and from 1640 onwards he was active supporter of Puritan cause against the Royalists, and on the establishment of Commonwealth he was appointed Latin Secretary to the Department of Foreign Affairs, which office he held till the restoration of monarchy. Viewers, if we talk about his marriages, in 1643 he married Mary Powell, a 17-year girl, daughter of a royalist, but unfortunately their union proved a most unhappy one and she left him, though she bore him 3 daughters. And when we will read in the later part of his life, these daughters are alleged to have distressed Milton by their unfilial conduct. They refused to read to him or to take down his dictation of Paradise Lost. Viewers, in 1653, a terrible calamity overtook him. His sight started failing and he was completely ruined by the stress of overwork, and he became totally blind. So in 1653, John Milton became a completely blind person. However, he continued to work with the help of Andrew Morville and other assistants. His enemies took his blindness as God's punishment, but Milton accepted it with dignity and fortitude, which is reflected in his sonnet on blindness. In 1656, he married again, but his second wife, Catherine Woodcock, died within 15 months. Viewers, on the restoration of monarchy, Milton lost his post and was arrested, and his two books were publicly burnt. With the intervention of his powerful friends, he was released, but he lost his property. Milton was now poor and lonely, as well as blind. He felt bitterly the failure of the cause for which he had toiled so hard and sacrificed so much. Though his third wife, Elizabeth, brought some comfort to his declining years of life, it was in the darkness and sorrow Milton turned back upon poetical designs which he had cherished long before, and on 8th November 1674 he died. So this was about his life. In the second part of the video, viewers, now we will be discussing about his works. Viewers, the Milton's works, they are divided into four different periods. The first period, Cambridge period, in which he was a student. Second, Horton period. Third, journalistic period, and this is the longest period where John Milton has contributed. And the last, period of poetic achievements, the greatest period of John Milton's career. So let's discuss these periods in detail. Viewers, in Cambridge period, the great or the most important work during this time was Ode on Christ's Nativity. Remember, viewers, during when he wrote this poem, John Milton was just 21 years old, and it is believed that this is one of the remarkable achievements for a poet of just 21 years old. So during Cambridge period or college period, the greatest work of John Milton is Ode on Christ's Nativity. Viewers, the second period, Horton period, in this period, John Milton had written four famous works. You can see on the screen. First is L'Allegro, Penseroso. Now these both are Italian in title, but they are basically written in English. Now in these poems, in one poem, John Milton tells about the darkness of life, the sadness, and another he tells about happiness. So the contrasted picture is given there. Then we have Comus, that is a story of a pagan god. Then the fourth important work during this period was Lycidas, and it is a pastoral elegy. This elegy John Milton has written for his friend King Edward, who was drowned when he was traveling to Ireland. So during this period, these four important works we find of John Milton. The critics believe that had John Milton not written Paradise Lost or Paradise Regained, these four poems were still sufficient to prove his greatness as a poet. Viewers, the third period of John Milton's career, that was a journalistic period, and that started from about 1640 and continued till 1660. Now during this period, John Milton had wrote many pamphlets. Few are given here, you can see on the screen. Number first is Of Reformation, that was published in 1641. Second, The Reason of Church Government Urged Against Prelacy, that was published in 1642. Number 3, The Doctrine and Discipline of Divorce. Then we have Liberty of Press, in which he has criticized the parliament. Then the number 5, The Tenure of Kings and Magistrates. So these are the famous pamphlets, but beside these he has written many other pamphlets, but these are considered the important pamphlets of John Milton during this period. Viewers, then we have the last period, or the glorious or the greatest period of John Milton, and his great works in the field of literature were written during this period. The Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained, and Samson, all are masterpieces, and they were all written during this period. And remember viewers, during this period John Milton was completely blind. Now in Paradise Lost, it tells us the ways of God to men and the disobedience of men or the humans towards God and how they were punished. Now remember viewers, we cannot forget the autobiographical element in this book. This book was written when John Milton was blind, so symbolically we can say that when he has lost his eyesight, he says that he lost his paradise also. But in this book, Paradise Lost, he set forth the revolt of Satan against God, the war in heaven, the fall of rebel angels, the creation of world and man, the temptation of Eve and Adam, and their expulsion from Eden. While his central purpose was to show how man's first disobedience brought sin and death, and its trend, it is characteristics of him that he does not close on the note of the evil success. Now viewers, the entire story of Adam and Eve is given in this book, The Paradise Lost. It contains 12 books. This is one of the masterpieces. Then we have Paradise Regained. Now viewers, again we cannot forget the autobiographical element in this book. We know that in the later years of his life, the John Milton has got his eyesight back. So symbolically we can say that when he got his eyesight back, he wrote this book. And remember, if we talk about the Adam and Eve, when they were seeking for the forgiveness from God, they were forgiven and they were brought back into paradise. So this story also goes at the same time. Then in Samson, we see the last work of John Milton. We see that how he was surrounded by the enemies and how he was punished. So again in this book we find the element, the personal element, the autobiographical element. So we can say viewers that in all these three books we find the autobiographical element of John Milton. These are considered the masterpieces of literature. So this was the last period of John Milton's literary career.